Hello and welcome to this month's episode of Grass10 TV. I'm Nikki Kennedy. On this month's episode we're heading to farmers up and down the country to look at a range of infrastructure options that they've all implemented on their farms. These options range from small one-off purchases to much larger projects, but they all have the same goal in mind of increasing grazing efficiency and improving overall animal and farm performances on their own farms. So we're looking at options that range from sheep, beef and dairy, so there's something there for everyone. So follow along and hopefully there's something you can implement to improve your farm.
Hello, my name is Lauren Sexton. I'm here in the beautiful Kilbrittain in West Cork, overlooking Cockmacshurry Bay. So we're here at the Paddock. Bought it first of all about 15 years ago, it's been a great success. Basically, we've 2 times of the day it's used. So at 1 o'clock in the day, we open this because the farm is very long, so the cows have a lot of walking to do. So it releases the bungee cord here, and it springs out of the way, and the cows travel through. And the other time we use it at 4 a.m. in the morning because we milk around 6. So they walk in at 6 o'clock, we'll say. So basically, the front of it here has the day, date, time, clock and entering and your different times. And the other one then, the back has the solar panel, which charges it. So as long as you keep it in the sun, it charges away grand. I wouldn't store it anywhere else, only in the sun, and it keeps the battery active. Basically, I'll show you a very simple thing now, and the bungee cord goes away from it. So here there's a little loop on the bungee cord. That's because the gap is a bit narrower here, so we just tie a loop on the bungee cord. It makes it very easily. And now I'll just press the enter, and it'll show you the cam releasing of the. It'll just release there now in a second. Watch it there now. There you go. So it's basically a little cam goes around and it releases your bungee cord. It's very, very simple, and you will have to, it's very difficult to get the cows to start using it in July or August. You need to have it done in the spring, is when the cows are a little bit hungrier, they're a little bit more anxious to come into you. That's when you need to use it first, and it really does make your life. It saves here hours upon hours of cows entering and leaving, time-wise, having to go out, open a wire, all that kind of stuff. We're very fortunate here. We don't have to cross a road. By and large, we don't have to cross any road, maybe once, but the rest of the time we can use this all the time, and it makes our life very, very straightforward. On the time the cows are in, at a time that it suits us. You know, if they're a bit further away, you're still going to have to go behind them, but at the same time, they have to, in general, most of them will be in. You know what I mean? So in the night time, they're always 99% of the time in, and there's no hassle. You know what I mean? Saves its time, hours, man hours. Basically, how it works is the lead cow, which is this cow here with the black head, 5358, she will nearly be at the gap at the time. It doesn't matter what time, and she'll be ready to go, and the rest of them will all follow. Is basically how it works. There's a few nosy ones there, and they're always going to be out the gap and waiting at it.
Hello, my name is Declan Byrne, Chagas Kildalton College, and today I'm going to talk to you about water infrastructure. So water is a vital component for cattle and all livestock, and is very important. A suckler cow will drink about 40 to 60 litres of water per day. A dairy cow, depending on diet and weather conditions, will require about 60 to 120 litres per day, and a calf will drink about 30 litres per day. So in this real warm weather experiencing at the moment, dairy cows will require 120 litres per day of water. First of all, truck size. The truck size requires about 1.5 gallons per cow. For a 100 cow herd, you'll require a 150 gallon truck. So for truck size then, it's very important to have enough drinking space for the cow. So in terms of drinking space allocation, it's required that you need about enough space for 10% of the herd to stand around the truck and drink at any one time. So each cow will require about 0.6 of a metre, 0.45 for smaller cows, up to 0.6 of a metre truck space per cow. So for a 100 cow herd, you'll need 6 metres of unimpeded truck space. So often you'll see farmers turning the truck and having the wire coming across here and half the truck available both sides of the paddock. That's generally a bad policy where you have herd size, where you have larger herds, because you're going to require that space all the way around the truck. Truck choices in terms of concrete, the big advantage of concrete trucks is first of all, they're sturdy, they're fixed in place, they won't be moved around. Disadvantage, probably price, they're expensive. Also, they should be maintained, they should be emptied at the end of every season. When we see the inside of the truck here, there's a slant on the inside of the truck here to allow when the truck freezes that the ice will rise theoretically, but it's very good policy at the end of every grazing season, empty your truck and have it clean for the next season. Also, it's good policy to have a stopcock on each truck here. So on the stopcock here, you can turn off the stopcock, do a bit of maintenance on the ballcock or whatever, and also empty the truck. It's good policy to turn off the stopcock when you're finished grazing the paddock. Also, trucks should be cleaned out at least once a year. And if you see green algae or dirt in the truck, you should clean out the truck and make sure we have clean water at all times.
Hello, Michael McGuigan is my name. I'm a suckler beef farmer here in Longwood, County Meath. Sunscreen on today, it's always sunny here. Continental style cows, 100% AI. We're killing all the progeny here. 22.6 months of age average last year with a carcass weight of 417 kilos average. I wouldn't be able to get them figures if I wasn't going into paddocks with the right covers. So we're measuring every 5 days, going into covers at 1400. That way I know it's highly digestible. I'm going to get the performance of the growing animals, and I'm going to get a good clean out to ensure the next rotation is nice and leafy. This is a creep gate between each paddock, and after the cows have been in for 24 hours, I then just open this creep gate and let the calves come through to forward graze. So it does two things. One, we can force the cows down. They don't need quality grass the whole time. We can force them to graze it down to 4 centimeters to ensure we get the nice leafy grass next time round, and it's not restricting the calves because they're into the next paddock getting the best of the leafy grass.
Hello, my name is JP Hammersley. I'm farming here in Latin in County Tipperary. I'd like to talk to you about the paddock structure we have here on the farm. This field is about 7 acres, and what we've done is we've divided the field into 4. The way we've done that is by putting in 4 gateways here in the middle and putting the wash troughs here in the centre as well. From the permanent gateways, we then put temporary wires going out to the boundaries of this field. What this means is that for silage or slurry spreading, we can roll up the wires, and it means that we can cut all the field in one. It also gives us better opportunities to utilise the grass better, in that we can actually move the cattle each day from one paddock to the next. If some of the paddocks are getting too strong, we can actually skip those and move the cattle onto the other paddock beside it. So I suppose it's just the way it kind of works around here. You can see the way the wash troughs here are catering for the 2 different paddocks on both sides. It allows us to actually have greater flexibility, and even actually with the wash troughs as well. As I have an off-farm job, a lot of my kind of work is done in the early morning and in the evening. This paddock system allows me to actually move cattle easily on my own, and also means I can check cattle at those times as well as they run through the gateways.
Paul Maher here in Moore Park. We're just standing on one of the roadways here in Moore Park, and we just wanted to show you what a high quality roadway looks like. So you can see here behind me, there's very low stone content, and we have a relatively flat surface on the roadway. And what we're looking for here is a camber of less than 5%. Where we go above 5%, we tend to have cows walking at the top or the bottom of the roadway. But we just want that slight fall either side to allow the water to flow off the roadway. So when the camber, we still want that 5% camber on the roadway, but there's not much point in having a good camber on the roadway where we have a grass verge like we have here, because simply the water is going to flow to this side and flow along the farm roadway. So we're going to erode the surface here. So the simple solution is just to come with a spade, lift some of the grass verge here and allow the water to flow out into the field and maintain our surface on the farm roadway. So when we're designing farm roadways, we want to remember the areas with high traffic. We want a wider farm roadway. So closer to the milking parlour on this farm, we have a roadway that's about 1.5 metres wider than our artery up through the middle of the farm. It's just to allow for greater cow flow and reduce congestion on the farm roadways. Standing here on a roadway that needs reconstruction, and the First thing we can look at is we can see the top surface of the farm roadway. So there's a lot of clay content in this roadway, the base material. There's not enough base material present here, and we can see a lot of soil is present at the top surface. So when the machinery has used this roadway, all that's really happened is the soil has moved and created a rooting effect across the roadway, we can see. It's also on quite a slope, so the water is flowing down the roadway. And we can just see down below here, where the roadway is below the level of the field. So all the rainfall that falls on this roadway is gathering and pooling on this section of roadway, and you can see it's now green, so the cows aren't even walking in this section of roadway. So to reconstruct this roadway, what needs to happen is this top surface we're looking at, this clay content, all needs to be removed. We need to increase the base layer to increase the height of the roadway relative to the field. So you can see along here, the roadway needs to come up, and then we need to put a blinding surface on the roadway. And this all needs to be compacted with a vibrating roller to create a firm surface on the farm roadway. So when we're looking at a reconstruction of farm roadway, for example, this roadway here, we need to remove all the soil of the farm roadway and get down to our base material. And when we construct this, we're looking at a base requirement of stone. We're looking at a blinding, a vibrating roller, and obviously a digger. So for a 4-meter roadway, that's working about €40, and that includes stone where we go down 6 inches, removing the topsoil, and come up 6 inches above the roadway, above the field. It's important that we come above the field so we can get the water off the roadway onto the field. And when we're looking again with the camber, we're looking at 3 to 5%. It's important that we don't want to go above 5%, because what we'll find is cows walk at the top or at the bottom of the farm roadway. So we need to keep it a maximum of 5%, but we just need that camber to get the water off the farm roadway. When we're looking at resurfacing a farm roadway, that includes digger hire and indeed the blinding material and vibrating roller again. It comes in between €15 and €17 a metre for 4-metre wide roadway.
We put in paddocks here in this farm maybe 20 years ago. Originally when we did put them in, they were too big and we didn't really know how to utilise them properly. But with good advice and plenty of planning, we redesigned the layout of the farm. We've now created 33 rectangular paddocks that are all about 1 hectare each and have multiple access points. We put in a central roadway, nothing special, just purely a clay roadway, which means that the likes of myself or my son can handle cattle by ourselves. There are access points to each paddock, 3 off the roadway on each side, so it's very easy to pick a paddock and utilise the grass that's in it and move them on then to the next place. The cost of putting in the roadway, the farm roadway, was minimal. It just required an extra row of posts and wire, you know, and a range of gate handles which allow us access into paddocks, especially in spring and autumn. It allows us to cut down on the level of poaching. We can let cattle in by the far gate and out by the near gate. It works very well in the autumn and the springtime. It cuts down on the damage done to the paddocks. The farm passway is literally still part of the field. It does have a tendency to get a bit mucky in the wet times of the year, but it self-rectifies. We end up grazing it during the summer as it continues to grow grass, and it is still part of the field. So it has set up at minimal cost and has turned out to be invaluable to our management.
Yeah, we put in this underpass in February 25, so it's in just over a year now. It's been a huge addition to this farm. Our driest land is across the road, so in the springtime we would have struggled just with workload and trying to have numbers to cross cows in the road. So that's allowed us now to be letting cows out as it suits us. And also then, say weekends, like when you're milking and stuff, you're trying to keep cows this side of the road, even though like the paddocks you'd want to hit on the other side of the road, just because you hadn't the bodies round to help cross the cows.
So the most important aspect of a good electric fence system is having the fence set up and installed correctly, and also having the energizer installed correctly. So the fence energizer, we all understand how the fence works. When the animal touches the wire and gets a shock off the fence, the current returns to the energizer via the earthing system. So where the earthing system on the fence is incorrect, you'll have a way poorer shock received by the animal. So as we know too, the electric fence system is a deterrent system. So it's lower cost than perhaps using sheet wire and barbed wire and lots more stakes. So it's a deterrent system. For that deterrent to work, the fencer needs to be worked correctly. So the importance of the earth bars can't be understated. For a correct system, first of all, I often see farmers using rebar, standard rebar for an earthing system. The rebar is a totally incorrect earthing system because the rebar is rusted before you install it and will rust over time. So the first thing you need proper galvanized solid 50mm bar, which can be purchased anywhere in any decent co-op store. So the galvanized system is very important because where you have rust on the earth bars, there'll be a poor connection and a poor uptake of current. So to have correct contact with the ground, we need about 4 to 5 foot long 50mm solid bar galvanized with the galvanized earthen clamp here. So when we drive the bar into the ground, you can drive the bar into the ground correctly using the sledge here. So you'll drive down the bar using the sledge. The earth bars should be about 4 inches or 2 or 3 inches on top of the ground, clamped, used in core earth wire 2.5mm. So the first earth bar should be 10 meters from the energizer, and then the earth bars should be 2 meters apart, coming along just inside the fence line. You should have the earth bars away from where the cattle can make contact with them. So very important, the first earth bar should be 10 meters from the energizer. Then we should have at least, for a low joule fencer, for a small fencer, maybe a 3 or 4 joule fencer only fencing maybe 40 acres, you'll get away with 2 earth bars. But for a 6 to 7 joule fencer fencing 100 acres, you should have 3 earth bars. For a 15 joule fencer that'll fence 200 acres, you should have 4 earth bars. And for a very large fencer, maybe 20, 25 joule, 30 joule fencer, fencing around 300 to 400 acres, you'll require 6 earth bars. So having the correct earthing system for the fence is vital. So the final bit then, on a daily basis, or certainly on a few times a week, you should be checking how much voltage is going through your fence. So each fence energizer, regardless of its size, is limited to about 5,000 to 8,000 volts of power going through the fence. So generally, when you connect your fence wire, anything above 4,000 volts or 4 kilovolts would be excellent current.
William Dean here. I'm just talking here about the Spur roadways. I have 7 Spur roadways on the farm, and in 2026, in the spring of 2026, the Spur roadways were a major help to me. I started grazing the 20th of February. I was lucky enough that I was able to stay grazing as a result of the Spur roadways, because I was able to get into the back of the paddocks and I minimised the poaching. And I also grazed by night, and they gave me fierce access to grass where I was able to return good proteins for the end of February, March and April. And the most of my Spur roadways are just 3 feet wide, and we just dig out the topsoil and we put in we call it pencil, just a hardcore, and we put that in, and it works out usually about €10 a metre. And what we do also then is we put a vibrating roller. And the most important thing with the Spur roadway when cows are walking through it at the start is to have good shock on both sides of the wire. Because if a cow stops, she'll block it up for everybody. But in fairness, it has worked very well for me. And the biggest thing is that as a result of it, I was getting the cows out early. I wasn't feeding a huge amount of meal. I was reducing the silage, and I was getting good constituents in the milk.
Yeah, this allows us to put up a fence there in a few minutes. You're one roller out, one roller back in. It's very easy. You put up 100 meters there in a couple of minutes. It means you'll do it. That's the reality.
So a big thank you to all of our farmers that we visited. We really appreciate that, and it's great to see these technologies, big and small, working on real farms across Ireland. Not only do we see how they can sort of improve grazing efficiency and animal performance, but in a lot of cases they're addressing issues of labour, and we all know that's a massive issue on a lot of farms across the country, so that's another bonus on these. We hope to see you guys taking a few of these ideas that might work on your farm, start implementing them, even if you start small, next year or over this winter, and build it up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and we'll try and get back to you. Again, a big thank you to all our farmers, and we hope to see more of these technologies adopted across farms. Thanks.